You use API every single day. Every time you check the weather, scroll through Instagram, or log in with your Google account, you are using an API. But here's the big question, what actually is an API? For a quick example, let's take a look at your phone's notification center or home screen. You might see the current weather there. The information changes every single day, sometimes every few minutes. How does your phone know the latest weather? Here's what happens. Your phones make a request to your weather provider. It sends your current location as input, and the weather provider sends back a response with the weather for that region. What just happened is essentially an API call. Now, let's simplify this with an analogy. Imagine you are a customer sitting at a table in a restaurant. You are hungry, but you don't walk into the kitchen to cook your own food. Instead, you look at the menu. That's like the API showing you what's available. And then the waiter comes along. You tell the waiter your order, and they take it to the kitchen. The kitchen, which prepares the food, and waiter brings it back to you. Notice that you don't need to know how the kitchen works, what tool they use, or what step they follow. You only need to know what you can ask for, and the waiter handles the rest. That's exactly how an API works. You make a request, and the API delivers the response from the back kitchen to you, which is essentially a backend system to you. In technical terms, when you are coding or using an app, you are the customer or the user. The waiter is the front end, and the kitchen, where the work actually happens, is called backend. Now let's see the real API in action. There's a public API called dog.ceo. Every time you visit, it gives you a random dog image. For example, if I go to the URL, this URL, I get a link to a dog image, and if I refresh it, I get another one. This is a new URL. You can see I got a URL image, and if I refresh again, I will get a new image. What's happening behind the scene is simple. Every time I press enter, my browser, the front end, sends a request to the backend system. That system randomly selects a dog image and sends it back to me as a response. You can see these API calls happening in your browser. Just right click, choose inspect, go to the network tab over here, and refresh the page. You will see all the API calls being made by your browser to keep things running. Here you can see this is the API call we just made to the dog.ceo, and this is the response we got from them, which is being displayed here. These responses are structured. For example, the dog API sends back the data in JSON format, which is how most API shares information. JSON usually contains fields like message, which is the data, and a status telling you if the request was successful or unsuccessful. Now, how do developers actually use this data with just a few lines of code? Here's an example. In Python, we make a request to the same dog API URL, get a response, then print the JSON. If I run this, it takes a second, and we get a random dog image URL. If we copy the URL and paste it in the browser, sure enough, it shows us the dog image. Let us do that. Copy the URL, and if we paste it here in the page, we get an image. So that's an API call in code. Request goes out, response comes back. Simple. To wrap this up, an API is just a messenger. You make a request, the API talks to the backend, and it delivers the response back to you. Like the waiter in the restaurant, you don't need to know what's happening in the kitchen. You just need to know what to ask for and how to ask.